On the Monday, August 18th episode of The Young and the Restless, Audra continued to lie to Nate. Phyllis had doubts about Nick's intentions, and Lily forced Cain to deal with the twins alone. At Crimson Lights, Nikki asked how Claire was doing, and she offered to hold the tissue box or just be there with her granddaughter. Claire was grateful she could rely on almost everyone. Nikki recognized that it was sometimes hard to accept that Victor was always compelled to protect his family. Claire declared that what Victor had done was unforgivable, and she'd never look at him in the same way again. Nikki lamented that it broke her heart to think about Claire pushing her grandfather away. Claire questioned why she should forgive Victor when it had been his choice to attack the man she loved. Nikki recalled that she'd had the same conversation with Victoria over the years, and Claire concluded it meant Victor would never change. Nikki encouraged Claire to wait to see how she felt in a few weeks, but Claire refused to wait any longer for happiness. Nikki implored Claire not to let anyone keep her from grabbing life with both hands. Nikki recounted that everyone had tried to talk her out of being with Victor, but life was too short. Claire confided that there was one more thing that was worrying her, and she didn't know what to do about it. Claire shared that Audra was still trying to make her believe something had happened between Kyle and Audra. Claire informed Nikki about the staged kiss and condemned Audra for treating Kyle like movie prop. Claire proclaimed that she wasn't a timid mouse, and she had the urge to fight back just as dirty. Claire promised she wouldn't turn into her Aunt Jordan, but she thought Nate deserved to know what Audra was capable of. Nikki clucked that Nate needed time to grieve the loss of his brother. Claire growled that Audra was playing the sweet, supportive girlfriend while being willing to cheat on Nate to get what she wanted, and she vowed to blow Audra out of the water once Nate got back. In Chancellor Park, Audra bemoaned to Nate that she couldn't stop seeing Amy's face at the funeral. Audra feared that Amy hadn't been eating, and she and Nate resolved to keep an eye on their friend. Audra also pledged to be there for him while he grieved his brother. Nate preferred to talk about anything but the funeral, and he turned the topic to what had gone wrong with Victor and Vibrante. Audra asserted that she hadn't been able to deal with knowing Victor would always pull the strings. Nate noted that she'd known that when she'd accepted Victor's offer, and he asked what had changed. Audra reasoned that she'd been too excited about Victor's endorsement to be rational, but she'd had time to think clearly in Nice, so she'd told Victor she was out. Nate still sensed Audra was holding back, and he pressed to know what she wasn't telling him. Audra considered it an accusation, and she asked why Nate wouldn't take her at her word. Audra was offended that Nate wouldn't believe she'd walked away because she had integrity. Nate swore he was just trying to understand why things felt off, and her getting defensive made him more certain there was something she didn't want him to know. Audra expressed frustration that Nate thought she was too weak to walk away from Victor. She groused that the cost of having Victor's support was her self-respect, and that wasn't for sale. She was insulted that Nate was treating her like a sellout who would do anything for $1. Nate inquired whether she was giving up on Vibrante for good. Audra accepted that she had to let Vibrante go, but she anticipated having other ideas and her own money to make them happen because she'd be working with Sally at Abbott Communications. Nate was surprised that Audra hadn't said anything about it, and she surmised he didn't approve. Nate requested a second to catch up on everything he'd missed. Audra figured her business matters were petty compared to what he and Amy were going through. Nate supported her decision, but he was still convinced there was more to it, and he wasn't happy about her keeping it from him. On Cain's train, Lily urged Cain to jump on her offer because their kids knew he'd lied to them about his life as Dumas. Cain defended that his work was just one aspect of his life, and he put being a father first. Lily maintained that she would help explain everything if he gave up whatever he was planning in Genoa City. Cain pointed out that he could agree to get her to hold up her end, but he wondered what she would do if he went forward with his plans anyway. Cain proposed that they make a different deal in which Lily gave him another chance, but she scoffed at the idea of going on a date. He pointed out that it would be just as easy for her to lie to him as it was for him to lie to her. She snapped that seeing everything as a lie or trick wasn't everyone's reality. Cain determined that they were at a stalemate, and the question was whether one of them would bend. Cain argued that he and Lily had shared the kind of love that happened once in a lifetime. Lily flatly replied that relationships died. He resolved to deal with the kids on his own if they couldn't agree, but she warned that they'd just walk away because they were furious with him. Cain reasoned that he and the twins loved one another, and they'd eventually understand because love could accomplish anything. Holden entered and apologized for interrupting. Lily demanded to know what kind of job opportunity Cain had in mind for Holden. Cain claimed he'd hired Holden to manage his properties in Genoa City after the great job he'd done in LA. Lily huffed that Holden had worked for Damien, adding that Damien's funeral had been beautiful and moving, if Cain cared to know. Cain said he was sorry he hadn't been able to make it. Holden expressed condolences to Lily for her loss. Lily grumbled that properties still had to be managed, and she found it interesting that Cain had hired Holden back after firing him. Cain reported that Damien had said nothing but good things about Holden. Holden swore he would have done anything for his best friend, but Damien hadn't had his back, and Cain hadn't taken Damien's life. Lily warned Holden to stay away from Cain, and to watch his back if he didn't. Holden reasoned that Damien had been a big part of his life, but he also had to work, and Cain had always been a fair boss. Lily spat that Cain had inspired a lot of loyalty for a man who hadn't stated his name or shown his face. She confirmed that she and Cain were at a stalemate, and she wished him luck with the kids because they deserved a father they could believe in. She also warned that she'd tell them the truth if she talked to them first. Lily left. Holden apologized for his bad timing, and he commented that Cain's angry ex definitely had opinions. Cain cautioned Holden against ever speaking about Lily with disrespect. Holden reported that everything was going well with the properties, and no one knew he was working for Cain. Cain instructed Holden to add Nick to his list of connections to make in Genoa City. Once alone, Cain left a voicemail for Charlie, hoping to arrange a call with him and Maddie to explain the things that had been going on and tell them how much he loved them. Phyllis rambled in Italian to Nick at Society's bar, and he guessed she'd just been on the phone with Summer. Phyllis suspected she'd interrupted their daughter's date, and Nick hoped Summer didn't move Marchetti's offices back to Milan. Phyllis was sure Summer didn't want to return to Genoa City because she'd do anything to avoid Kyle and Claire. Nick assured Phyllis that Summer was tough, like her mother. Phyllis thought Nick wanted to believe that because it made him worry less, but she disagreed. Phyllis contended that she was tough because she'd had no other choice with no one to lean on. Nick conceded that Summer should stay in Milan if she was happy there, and he inquired about where things stood between Phyllis and Cain. Phyllis acknowledged that Nick hated Cain, but Nick swore that cooler heads were prevailing since they'd returned from Nice. Phyllis incredulously asked if Nick wanted to be Cain's pal. Nick clarified that they could be allies. Phyllis assumed Nick wanted her to be Cain's ally and report back to Nick. Phyllis scoffed at the idea of Nick being willing to forgive and forget what had happened in France. Nick insisted things didn't have to be like that in Genoa City, but he understood why Cain might not be able to trust anyone in return. Phyllis admitted that Cain tested her all the time and took nothing at face value. She asked what Nick wanted to get out of it. Nick swore he wanted peace. Phyllis wondered how Nick intended to convince Cain he was sincere. Nick suspected Cain had no one to count on, but Cain was starting to let Phyllis in, so she might be the closest thing Cain had to an inner circle. Nick hinted that it could be an opportunity for her to open the door a bit for an old friend. Phyllis doubted she had much influence over Cain, but she saw someone who did. Nick called Lily over, and she relayed that she and Cain had discussed the twins, since Newman Media had made sure the world knew who Dumas was. Phyllis was taken aback that Cain had never told his children about it. Lily griped that her kids were devastated that their father hadn't been honest with them, and she wondered if they could ever forgive him. Phyllis reasoned that the twins loved their dad and would forgive Cain. Lily cried that even if they forgave him, they'd have trouble trusting him again. Lily pledged that if Cain hurt her children any more than he already had, he would have to deal with her. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching, so let's dive into today's video. Last week on The Young and the Restless, we watched ex-sweethearts Nate and Victoria bond over their shared losses. Could their time together lead them to rekindle their relationship? On The Young and the Restless. Last week, Nate visited Victoria, and the two commiserated with each other over the recent deaths of their loved ones. Now that Victoria's boyfriend, Cole, and Nate's brother Damien have both died, Victoria and Nate both realize how deeply it hurts to lose a loved one. It was easy for them to lean on each other for support, since they used to be romantically involved and have remained friends since their breakup in 2023. Victoria never thought she would get the chance to reunite with her ex-husband Cole until late 2023, during the storyline involving his Aunt Jordan. That was when Cole and Victoria discovered that their daughter Eve, who they thought had died years ago, was alive and renamed Clare. That shocking discovery eventually led to a romantic reunion between Cole and Victoria. But when he contracted Legionnaire's disease this year, their happy reunion turned to sorrow and tears when he died in July. Nate never expected to learn that he had a half-brother named Lily&Cane who lived in Los Angeles. Their relationship started out rocky because they both deceived each other in various ways. Nate invited him to Genoa City under the guise that he was offering him a job when he was really trying to reunite Damien with his sick mother Amy. Damien's friend Holden pretended to be him. Nate and Damien didn't trust each other at first, but eventually they began to develop a brotherly bond, which, sadly, came to an abrupt end when Cain's assistant, Carter, killed Damien in Nice, France. Victoria and Nate are struggling with the fact that neither of them had enough time to spend with their loved ones before they died. As they comfort each other in their grief, will their friendship lead them back down the road to the romance they once shared? Once Nate learns that his girlfriend Audra has been making passes at Kyle, he will feel that he can't trust her, which may free him up for Victoria in the near future. Welcome to the Young and the Restless Daily YAPP. For a quick, and by that I mean you're already halfway done, recap of the most amazing or what the heck did we just watch moments on today's episode. Let's get to it. On The Young and the Restless today, Lily let her inexplicable rage get the better of her yet again. She met with Cain, thinking she could swing a deal that if she promised to help him explain to their kids that he was a billionaire, then he had to promise to cease and desist all of his current Genoa City business takeover plans. Cain declined, and good on him, because who would trust Lily to say a kind word to anyone about anything at this point? She's been grumpy since last year when she couldn't play nice in the sandbox and got herself fired from Chancellor, then demanded that she get her seat back at the table that she never owned. But now, Lily seems to think that the worst thing Cain could do is become a billionaire, and for that, she needed to first use their kids as leverage, but then turn them against their dad. She told Nick and Phyllis she didn't know why Cain didn't call them, after he'd just explained why, and said he was about to call them after his meeting with Holden. So, Lily beat him to it and ensured they were upset, then claimed it was Cain who hurt them. Maybe it's different in Genoa City, but games like that usually come back to bite you. Want more details? We got you! Soap Central has the best full Y&R recaps on the internet. You can even go back over 30 years and read each and every one of them. If you can't wait until the next episode, we have daily spoilers too. And whatever you do this weekend, do not, seriously, do not, forget to read the 2 scoops for some laughs in the As Close as We Can Come It to Being a Watching Party without actually being a show. And the best part is, if you agree or disagree, we want to know. As always, share your comments below. The Young and the Restless spoilers update for Tuesday, August 19th reveals that Phyllis Summers will think she knows best while Cain Ashby gets a warning. Jack Abbott will also get a surprise, so here's what Y&R fans can look forward to. At the Abbott mansion, Diane Jenkins Abbott will distract Jack from his concerns about Billy Abbott and his inside man mission to protect Jebboat from Cain. Jack and Diane's attempt at a honeymoon didn't quite pan out since they got stuck in France for so long. That's why Diane will push for a bit of a redo on Tuesday's episode and delight Jack in the process. Jack and Diane may visit some exotic destinations at a later date, but they might have a staycation right now and just take a moment to savor their love for each other. Next, Phyllis will basically appoint herself as Cain's advisor and tell him the best way to handle a situation. This may have something to do with Nick Newman's request to help him grease the wheels and form a Cain alliance. Phyllis could walk Cain through the pros and cons of a risky Newman partnership. Although Cain still intends to go after Chancellor and Newman Enterprises, Phyllis might see the value in using the Newmans to go after Jabot first, since that's also on the to-do list. Phyllis might acknowledge that the Newmans aren't exactly trustworthy, but she may also think it's best to let them believe they're getting their way for now. Cain will get a warning, so Phyllis may argue that he'd rather have the Newmans as an ally than an enemy, at least this early in the process of his corporate takeover plans. Across town, Holden Novak will have a hard time resisting an attraction that's bubbling up, so some tricky romantic news is on the way. Since Holden will find himself increasingly drawn to Clare Newman, Y&R could be setting up a new pairing. At least once Clare's romance with Kyle Abbott inevitably implodes. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Holden will fall hard for Clare, so stay tuned. The Young and the Restless spoilers update for the week of August 18, 2022 reveals that Audra Charles will play the blame game while Kyle Abbott faces some competition for Clare Newman's heart. Billy Abbott will also have an outburst, so here's what viewers can look forward to. Despite Audra's attempts to convince Nate Hastings there's nothing shady going on, he'll have a feeling she's lying. Clare should confirm that when she approaches Nate with all her dirty Audra news later. Once Clare updates Nate on Audra's breakup plot for Victor Newman, she'll presumably blab about seeing Audra kissing Kyle too. Audra's been working overtime on this blatant manipulation plot, so Nate needs to know about it. Although Audra will play the blame game and try to act like Kyle's the real issue, Nate won't buy that. Audra and Nate are on the verge of a major blow-up since he'll push her to admit the truth, and he won't want her to leave any details out. Over with Holden Novak. He'll struggle to get Clare out of his head. Holden will do his best to fight the feelings that are bubbling up, but he'll indeed be attracted to Clare and won't know what to do with that. Kyle could have some competition for Clare's heart, especially if she finds out about all the lines he crossed trying to expose Audra in Nice. Other Y&R spoilers say Phyllis Summers will give Cain some advice he didn't ask for, but it may prove useful. Cain may get Phyllis's words of wisdom regarding the Newmans, and how maybe aligning with them might be a good thing for now. While Daniel Romalotti Jr. falls harder for Tessa Porter, Billy will get in Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson's faces for an argument. Chelsea and Adam will get grilled, so Billy may lash out over them, dragging his name through the mud at Newman Media again. Back with Jack, he'll have some romantic guidance for Kyle, while Cain goes over the details of Phyllis's new assignment. Will Cain use Phyllis's hacking talents to his full advantage like they planned? The Young and the Restless spoilers say Victor has an unexpected decision ahead that'll shake up Genoa City, so Cain had better be prepared. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Audra Charles' pregnancy could save her relationship with Nate Hastings. If Audra indeed announces pregnancy news at some point, will there be a real baby involved? Or could this be another desperate lie? Nate is already suspicious of Audra's true reasons for cutting ties with Victor Newman and losing the Vibranti funding she was previously so thrilled about. Audra's been trying to play it like it was her decision when it was Victor who gave her the boot. In Y&R's August 18th episode, Audra will frustrate Nate when she refuses to tell him the whole story. It'll be obvious to Nate that he doesn't have all the facts, but Audra will get defensive and lash out at him over his incessant questions. However, Clare Newman will eventually seek Nate out later and prepare to hit him with some curveballs. Nate should get updates on Audra working for Victor to ruin Clare and Kyle Abbott's future together. Audra wasn't successful in pulling off a breakup, so that's the real reason her funding was pulled. It looks like Clare will tell Nate about that and about Audra's decision to plant a kiss on him in public. Audra is a manipulative little menace, so Clare may make that crystal clear to Nate. Nevertheless, Nate will want to hear the truth from Audra herself, so she'll be backed into a corner toward the end of August 18, 2022. Audra may come clean and try to fix this, but Nate's going to be livid over her actions and all the deception that followed. This could be enough to officially break up Audra and Nate's relationship, so how might Audra try to salvage it? Could Audra eventually make a pregnancy announcement and leave fans guessing about whether it's even real? It's possible Audra got pregnant right before she left for Nice. At least that might be what she'll claim. Then again, Audra and Nate might have had a sizzling reunion once she came home to distract him from his Cain grief. In that case, Audra's pregnancy confession could come later. Regardless, It wouldn't be the first time a couple tried to make it work for the sake of a baby. Audra might use this as her ticket to convincing Nate to try again, but there's a chance it could all be bogus. We wouldn't put it past Audra to use a faux pregnancy as a last-ditch effort to keep Nate as her man. Audra might blurt it out and just have to figure out the rest later if there's not really a baby after all. Whatever the case, the Young and the Restless spoilers say there's no line Audra won't cross, so stay tuned for any shocker she might deliver. The Young and the Restless spoilers tease that Mariah Copeland will issue a threat to Sharon Newman after the concerned mother tries to get her to open up. Sharon's concern for Mariah is not out of the ordinary. Mariah has withdrawn from her family, including Tessa Porter and their infant daughter. Now, Mariah informs her mother that if she doesn't back off, she will cut her off as well. This is becoming too much for Sharon. She won't allow her daughter to cut everyone off like that, and will likely press Mariah to open up and tell her what is going on. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that while on a business trip, Mariah killed a man she met in a restaurant. It was just after Ian Ward died, so it was likely tied to her trauma with the former cult leader. Mariah hasn't told anyone about her crime. She suffocated the poor man. She cannot forgive herself, and she is questioning whether she is safe to be around her family. Mariah doesn't understand what would happen for her to do such a horrible thing. Instead of opening up to her wife, Tessa, Mariah has closed herself off. She refuses to confess her crime and told her that she had to deal with something. Tessa doesn't know what Mariah's issues are. If Mariah doesn't come clean soon, she could lose her family for good. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Sharon will demand answers from Mariah. She knows that things are still tense with Tessa, and she wants to know why. At first, Mariah will be cagey about it, but eventually will tell her mother the truth. Mariah outlines finding the older man dead and remembering suffocating him with a decorative pillow. She cannot understand how this could happen, and Mariah worries that there is something broken in her. Sharon listens to her daughter pour her heart out to her. She doesn't know what the answer is, but Sharon knows she must do something to help her daughter. Mariah needs peace of mind and a way to deal with the trauma of the murder. Sharon also worries that if she doesn't help Mariah now, Tessa could file for divorce and claim Mariah abandoned her family. Y&R fans, will Sharon be able to help Mariah? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Remember to watch The Young and the Restless, airing weekdays on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. Welcome, Y&R fans, to a fresh look at the storm brewing in Genoa City. The lines between love and hate have blurred, pushing one woman to the brink and threatening to drag everyone else down with her. Claire Grace, once a figure of resilience, is no longer just a woman wronged. She has transformed into an architect of vengeance, willing to burn down the world to make her enemies pay. Her primary target is Audra Charles, the woman she blames for destroying her relationship with Kyle Abbott. Consumed by a possessive love, Claire operates under a dangerous new mantra: if she can't have Kyle, no one can. Her retribution begins with a chillingly calculated plot, a staged car accident designed to make Audra pay with her life. This isn't just an act of passion, it's a cold, methodical plan to prove that her revenge is unstoppable and that she will emerge victorious, no matter the cost. However, Audra is oblivious to the immediate danger, as she's too busy navigating her own web of deceit. She's desperately trying to solidify her position within the Newman Empire, while simultaneously placating a deeply suspicious Nate Hastings. Audra insists her relationship with Victor Newman is strictly business, but Nate can't shake the feeling that he's being played. Nate's intuition is about to be validated. Claire sees him not as an obstacle, but as the perfect weapon to dismantle Audra's life. She plans to arm Nate with the truth, providing him with all the ammunition he needs to see Audra's treachery. The tension is set to explode when Claire reveals Audra's darkest secrets, including her clandestine plotting with Victor and a damning eyewitness account of Audra kissing Kyle. This revelation will force a dramatic confrontation. When confronted, Audra will likely resort to her usual tactics: deflection and blame, attempting to paint Kyle as the aggressor. But Nate won't fall for it. Having walked a similar path of betrayal himself, He recognizes the manipulative patterns all too well. He knows the lies, the excuses, and the art of shifting blame because he's been there before. As these relationships crumble, other key players are drawn into the fray. Billy Abbott, known for his protective instincts and volatile temper, will not stand by idly as the drama unfolds. His loyalty to Kyle and his family will be tested, and his explosive reaction could change the game entirely. Ultimately, every character is standing at a crossroads. Audra will face the consequences of her ambition, learning that a deal with a puppet master like Victor Newman always comes with strings and an expiration date. Claire must confront the reality that revenge may leave her with nothing but emptiness. And caught between them all, Nate and Kyle must decide where their loyalties lie and whether any trust can be rebuilt from the ashes of so much deception. The stage is set for a devastating fallout, and it's clear that no one will escape unscathed. The Young and the Restless spoilers update for Monday, August 18th reveals that Nate Hastings will demand Audra Charles' secret, while Lily Winters rejects Cain Ashby's plea. On Cain's train, Lily will keep pressuring him to ditch whatever he's plotting and accept her help with the twins. Cain will want more from Lily and will push for another chance to rekindle their relationship. When Lily refuses to go down that road again, Cain will get fed up and decide he'll just do damage control with the kids on his own. Holden Novak will pop up at one point under the guise of discussing a job opportunity. Cain will back Holden up by acting like this is about hiring Holden to manage his Genoa City properties. Lily will take some jabs over Cain's demise and warn Holden to watch his back if he doesn't take her advice to walk away entirely. At Society, Phyllis Summers will sense that something's up when Nick Newman isn't holding a grudge over Cain keeping him hostage. Nick will suggest he's hoping for peace and will seek Phyllis' help to make a Cain alliance happen. Lily will ultimately come along with updates on her Cain meeting and will show off her protective side when it comes to her children. Back with Cain, he'll warn Holden that he won't tolerate any disrespect toward Lily. Cain will also make a phone call in private to Charlie Ashby and urge his son to call back along with his sister Maddie Ashby. At the coffee house, Claire Newman will continue to fume over Victor Newman's actions and will warn Nikki Newman that she's moving in with Kyle Abbott, regardless of what her grandpa thinks. Claire will also complain about Audra's relentlessness and will shock Nikki with the news of Audra's latest stunt. After Claire explains how Audra put on a show and kissed Kyle in front of her, she'll hint about a dirty takedown scheme. Claire's vengeful admission will worry Nikki a bit, but her granddaughter will promise she's not going as far as kidnapping or poisoning Audra. This will just be about showing Nate Hastings the real Audra and blowing up her world in the process. In the park on Monday's Y&R episode, Nate and Audra will be back in town following Damien's funeral. Now that Damien has been laid to rest, Nate will get back to his questions regarding Vibrante and why Audra suddenly ditched her partnership with Victor. Audra will act like she just wised up and saw that Nate was right, that Victor couldn't be trusted and wasn't someone she wanted to partner with. Nate will think there's more to it than that, so he'll basically demand the rest of the story. The harder Nate pushes, the more agitated and defensive Audra will get. Audra will spin things around on Nate and suggest he's making her seem like some sort of sellout who'd never walk away from the money. However, Audra will compare it to the situation with Tucker McCall and act like this was about putting her self-respect first. Nate will also find out Audra already got another job offer from Sally Spectra. Nate will back off a bit in the end, but he'll still think it seems like something happened in Nice. The fact that Audra isn't being totally honest will leave Nate unhappy with this whole conversation. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Audra and Nate's romance may be hanging by a thread, so stay tuned to see if Claire will snap it. The Young and the Restless spoilers for August 18th, 25 reveal a tense episode filled with broken trust, explosive confrontations, and brewing revenge. Nate demands answers from Audra, while Lily rejects Cain's plea for reconciliation. Meanwhile, Claire grows dangerously determined to destroy Audra, setting Genoa City on edge. In the upcoming episode, Nate Hastings grows increasingly frustrated with Audra Charles. After Cain's funeral, Nate focuses on Audra's sudden withdrawal from Victor Newman's partnership. He suspects more than simple mistrust and demands the full truth. Audra insists she walked away for her own self-respect. She argues Victor was a risk not worth taking, claiming she wised up before it was too late. But Nate is far from convinced. His probing questions push Audra into defensive territory, raising even more doubts about her loyalty. As Nate continues pressing, Audra spins the conversation toward her new opportunity. She reveals Sally Spectra already offered her a job, suggesting her career is safe without Victor. Nate hears her explanation, but he remains skeptical. Something still feels wrong. Nate believes Audra is hiding something that happened in Nice, something big enough to jeopardize their romance. His lingering suspicions leave their relationship hanging by a thread. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest Nate and Audra's future may depend on the answers she refuses to give. Elsewhere, Cain Ashby pushes Lily Winters for another chance at love. Cain insists he can be the partner she needs, but Lily refuses to revisit old wounds. She wants him to focus on co-parenting the twins rather than chasing the past. Cain refuses to accept her decision quietly. Hurt and frustrated, he claims he'll handle the twins without her. Lily warns him that clinging to his schemes could only harm the family further. Still, Cain remains determined, even as his relationship with Lily reaches another painful roadblock. Holden Novak reappears under the pretense of a job discussion with Cain. He presents himself as a candidate to manage Cain's properties, but Lily sees through the act. She warns Holden not to get involved in Cain's questionable business ventures. Lily also reminds Holden of Lily&Cane's dark fate. She urges him to walk away before history repeats itself. Though Cain defends Holden, it's clear Lily doesn't trust his motives. Her warnings add fresh tension to an already fragile situation. At Society, Nick Newman surprises Phyllis Summers with a surprising stance. Rather than holding a grudge over Cain's past actions, Nick wants peace. He even suggests a potential alliance with Cain. Phyllis is wary but intrigued. Nick asks for her help in smoothing things over. This unexpected partnership could shift power dynamics in Genoa City, especially as Cain grows increasingly reckless. Lily's return with updates only heightens the family tension surrounding Cain's choices. At Crimson Lights, Claire Newman vents to Nikki about her next move. She's furious over Victor's manipulations and decides to move in with Kyle Abbott despite family objections. But her rage doesn't stop there. Claire shocks Nikki by revealing Audra staged a public kiss with Kyle. Enraged, Claire vows to expose Audra's true self and destroy her world. Nikki worries her granddaughter is going too far, but Claire promises she won't resort to violence. Instead, she'll target Audra by revealing her lies to Nate. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Lily Winters is about to face a storm that could unravel everything she thought she knew. Genoa City rarely stays quiet, and when the past refuses to stay buried, it always returns with devastating consequences. For Lily, the ghost of her fractured love story with Cain Ashby still lingers, no matter how determined she's been to shut that door. She wanted to move forward, to finally heal from the betrayals and the heartache, but the past refuses to let her. And nothing could prepare her for the shocking revelation that Damien, the man everyone believed dead, is very much alive. His reappearance is no rumor, no whisper on the wind. Damien steps out of the shadows himself on a stormy afternoon, fragile yet burning with desperation. He begs Lily for silence, for time, for shelter. He claims he's tangled in a web of dangerous secrets and insists Lily is his only lifeline. For Lily, this isn't just emotional whiplash, it's a moral crisis that could shatter her family. Damien's survival threatens her peace, her children's safety, and the already fragile trust she's fought to rebuild in her life. She agrees to hear him out, but only on her terms, as a guide, not an accomplice. Lily demands transparency, lawyers, and a clear safety plan. If Damien won't cooperate, she promises she'll expose the truth before the lies destroy them all. Meanwhile, Cain, who has been desperately trying to win Lily back, finds his attempts crashing against the steel wall of her resolve. Lily won't allow herself to be fooled twice. Her rejection devastates him, but in classic Cain fashion, he takes matters into his own hands, vowing to focus on the children. What sounds like responsibility to him rings as reckless impulse to Lily, who fears Cain's choices could entangle their twins in Damien's dangerous orbit. As Damien's story unravels, the truth proves darker than Lily imagined. Missing money, a hidden partner pulling strings, and shadowy dealings buried in Genoa City's real estate market. Names are left unspoken, but the implications cut close to home, especially when Cain's recent financial moves align suspiciously with Damien's cryptic confessions. Lily gives Damien 48 hours. Either he turns over proof and accepts her plan for protection, or she'll expose him herself. But just as the deadline looms, a new player enters the scene. Holden Novak, charming, polished, and full of promises, approaches with a seemingly innocent offer, a management role in overseeing property and restructuring projects. On the surface, it's a legitimate opportunity. But Holden isn't just pitching himself, he comes endorsed by Cain. To Cain, it's business. To Lily, it's a red flag. The timing, the secrecy, the scent of power plays beneath the surface. All of it fits too neatly with Damien's warnings. Lily confronts Holden directly, not with threats, but with a blunt truth. Genoa City real estate is no playground, and the forces moving behind the curtain could devour him before he knows what hit him. Holden listens, shaken, realizing Lily may be right, yet also aware that opportunities like this don't come twice. He leaves her with trembling hands, armed with knowledge but caught between ambition and survival. And for Lily, the weight only grows heavier. Damien's return, Cain's defiance, Holden's arrival, all pieces on a dangerous chessboard where family, loyalty, and power are set to collide. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Audra Charles' pregnancy could save her relationship with Nate Hastings. If Audra indeed announces pregnancy news at some point, will there be a real baby involved? Or could this be another desperate lie? Nate is already suspicious of Audra's true reasons for cutting ties with Victor Newman and losing the Vibrante funding she was previously so thrilled about. Audra's been trying to play it like it was her decision when it was Victor who gave her the boot. In Y&R's August 18th episode, Audra will frustrate Nate when she refuses to tell him the whole story. It'll be obvious to Nate that he doesn't have all the facts, but Audra will get defensive and lash out at him over his incessant questions. However, Claire Newman will eventually seek Nate out later and prepare to hit him with some curveballs. Nate should get updates on Audra working for Victor to ruin Claire and Kyle Abbott's future together. Audra wasn't successful in pulling off a breakup, so that's the real reason her funding was pulled. It looks like Claire will tell Nate about that and about Audra's decision to plant a kiss on him in public. Audra is a manipulative little menace, so Claire may make that crystal clear to Nate. Nevertheless, Nate will want to hear the truth from Audra herself, so she'll be backed into a corner toward the end of August 1822. Audra may come clean and try to fix this, but Nate's going to be livid over her actions and all the deception that followed. This could be enough to officially break up Audra and Nate's relationship. So how might Audra try to salvage it? Could Audra eventually make a pregnancy announcement and leave fans guessing about whether it's even real? It's possible Audra got pregnant right before she left for Nice. At least that might be what she'll claim. Then again, Audra and Nate might have had a sizzling reunion once she came home to distract him from his Lily&Cane grief. In that case, Audra's pregnancy confession could come later. Regardless, it wouldn't be the first time a couple tried to make it work for the sake of a baby. Audra might use this as her ticket to convincing Nate to try again, but there's a chance it could all be bogus. We wouldn't put it past Audra to use a faux pregnancy as a last-ditch effort to keep Nate as her man. Audra might blurt it out, and just have to figure out the rest later if there's not really a baby after all. It's bound to happen. This week's slow burn goes to Lily&Cane on The Young and the Restless. They're bound to get back together. The writing is in the stars for these two exes. Lily admitted that she doesn't trust Cain, and she can't forgive him for all that happened. However, she will likely warm up to him, but only if he's willing to better himself. Cain disguised himself as Aristotle Dumas, only to reveal himself once his guests arrived at his French estate. Of course, Lily was the first to find out. Cain revealed that he's been trying to acquire everyone's real estate and businesses in Genoa City. He's been keeping a close eye on them ever since he left in 2019. Now, Cain has blood on his hands. There were 3 murders in Nice. Damien was the first victim, followed by Chance. Carter, Cain's assistant, was the one who was behind the murders. Cain groomed him to do whatever he wanted for him, and he went down a dark path. Cain wants Lily back and wants them to have a happy family again. However, she can't trust him, especially after he betrayed her once again and lied about his identity. Not to mention, he's now connected to 3 murders, one of which included a man she could have fallen in love with. We could see Lily eventually taking Cain back. It will take a lot of work on his part, though. Lily is already setting the ground rules in their relationship. She wants them to be able to coexist in Genoa City. I see, especially since he refuses to leave this time around. Lily also wants to keep up a united front when it comes to their family. Her feelings for Cain could change once they reunite with their kids. Deep down, she knows that Cain is a good father who would do anything for his kids. Seeing him interact with them could soften her heart. Cain and Lily's reconciliation is inevitable, but it's going to be a slow burn. Cain is going to have to work hard to prove to Lily that she can trust him again. But is he willing to change?